Back to Cybertron, my favorite of them all for Transformers lines, and something of an unusual figure for the time, because this was super exciting. Imagine, we got done with two series where upgraded characters meant their old toy got repainted into something that kind of looked okay. But now we had an upgraded character who had a brand new toy, a much bigger toy, with a lot more features, and we thought, ooh, this is going to be the new norm, this is going to be so cool. It was not the new norm. That's just unfortunate, but hey, we were excited for it back then, so let's see what all the hype was about. This is Scattershot, the Cybertron Defense Voyager version of Scattershot, far bigger than the Scout class original, but shares many of the same traits. For instance, same blue plastic, which I'm not sure is military issue for a big missile truck like this. It's a little bit of a strange color, it does not quite fit, but hey, that's what repaints are for, and this does carry the character over. I'm not complaining. Beyond the blue plastic, we also have dark gray down here for the treads, which are done fairly well. You can see a lot of internal molding there, as well as the actual treads on the underside. Not all of them are the same either. Like, you can see the slant, the diagonal cut there in the center, always kind of shifting around, so you do have some variation. It's not the same thing copied over and over. Aside from that, of course, you do have the missile rack itself done up in this, it's kind of glittery gray plastic with a little bit of dark gray trimming it around and a little bit of gold to indicate where the cyber keys go. They do work in this mode, but I've opted to save that for robot mode, where the effect is so much cooler. As you can see, there's also some mustard plastic exposed, which is carried over from Scattershot, as well as some dark blue and metallic gold. It's actually a metallic bronze. It is glittered, and we'll talk more about that once we get to robot mode. But for now, we're going to stick to the merits of the vehicle. It is heavily molded and a very solid, bulky piece. This thing is properly heavy for a toy that cost $20 back then. You can see a lot of detail went into this. The front scoop has a nice little airbrushing along the teeth there, and you can also see where the viewport and the hatches are molded in and painted in one case, which is always nice. Toward the back, not a whole lot. You do have some extra packs and things molded into the sides. On to this side, I'm going to show there is a special sigil on him for the Cybertron Defense Crew, which there are only 3 of, so kind of a prestigious little symbol that was quickly replaced by that one with the wings on it. Beyond that, not a whole lot going on. There is, it's exceptionally well molded. Nice silver striping down the side. It is a little bit plain, but I still really like these vehicles. Now, feature-wise in this mode, well, it doesn't roll too well because it's just those little tiny fake wheels on the underside. On the upside, this missile battery works pretty well. You can angle it upward, which pretty much just shows off where his robot mode is, as well as his upside-down head. It also reveals the fact that these are just his robot mode arms. But never mind all of that. In a very cool feature, this thing does actually rotate around, so you do have a full proper range with it. That's cool. If you want a little bit more armament besides activating the keys, you also have an accessory weapon. This was actually really cool back then because they had long since abandoned simple accessory weapons like this. They always had to have a firing missile or didn't come with anything at all. They just like attached and sprung out. So the fact that he came with an actual individual rifle like that was actually pretty cool back then. So that's pretty much what the vehicle mode does. Let's see what the robot mode does. So we'll transform him, and guys, this is not going to take long. I'm going to disengage the sides here, flip them around, and peg them down to the side. You kind of have to pull them out a little bit in order to make the fit work. With that done, fold the feet out like that. Split this, and hinge this all the way down. And then flip him over and realize his entire robot's almost done. He is a very, very simple toy. Flip out the hands. The head flips up from the back side on a double hinge. You're going to find a little slot where the head has this little neck peg. As long as it finds any point in that slot, you're doing fine. And with that, we're pretty much done. That is our robot mode Scattershot. Far bigger, far bulkier than the original. I will go ahead and just give you the example so you can see the upgrade of this terribly dusty Scattershot I still have. You can see while the blue is pretty much the same, and they changed a little bit of the mustard, and they got a little bit more serious with the color scheme, but it's mostly the same. Head completely changed color, but beyond that, he still looks very much like the original character that was seen all the way in episode 1. So, that works well. And we thought that was going to be the norm. How disappointed we were. Let's take a close-up look at that head. It is very unique in that not only does he have an unusual shaped visor that kind of goes down over his nose, he also has these goggles on top. Looks like something the Ghostbusters would wear. That does make him look quite distinct. It doesn't lower down or anything. That kind of would have been cool. But it looks like he's got some kind of like night vision goggles, something like that. So he definitely works out. I like this head design quite a lot. As you can see, his bulk is pretty evenly distributed. I'll go ahead and open him up a little bit, split the legs so you can kind of tell. Proportionally, he's pretty solid. It's pretty standard robot, nothing really hanging out too much, aside from the giant cannons. But for the most part, very solid, very blocky and bulky, but he does have the right amount of edges and round shapes to him to keep him from looking like boxes stacked onto boxes. One thing you will notice is that the paint detail on this guy is pretty lavish. The chest alone has gotten a ton of silver paint as well as some gray in order to bring out its details, as well as a gold belly. He also has a little bit gold on the shoulders as well as some more silver down lower, specifically in the pelvis and the knees, which does give him quite a bit of color as you go through. And they did mine themselves on little details, so he does have some layers of color effect. It's all very good, and you'll even have the paint from the vehicle mode coming through a little bit on the sides of the legs and on the sides of the cannons. So he has quite a bit of color variety visually. He is exceptionally well done as far as deco, as far as proportions. Like, I've always liked this guy, and yes, the detailing is heavy and ludicrous and exceptionally well done. So yeah, I'm kind of big on this one. So let me see. What next? Well, we can do the articulation roll down before we get to the gimmicks. The head rotates quite nicely, in spite of the fact that it kind of loops around. There's tons of range left and right, nothing to an unnatural degree. You can kind of use the hinge if you want to look up, but that doesn't remove his head. Shoulders are universal. They rotate here and angle out at the actual shoulder. You get a bicep rotation, which works. A little bit restricted by this, but not terrible. 90 degrees at the elbow, and you can hear those detents in that ratchet. Hoo-hoo, always nice. Waist rotation. Hey, look, at a waist rotation that has nothing to do with its transformation. Isn't that wonderful? Universal hips with the ratchet effect. You also have a swivel at the below the knee. No, never mind. I was gonna say there was one above the knee as well, but it's no, it's molded in. I saw the cut. I forgot this toy doesn't have that. Oh well, you still got a swivel, and then heavy ratchet in the knee. The knee is that solid bronze plastic, by the way. But as you can see, it lasts pretty well. This toy is going on 10 years of age, and yeah, if there was GPS degradation, yeah, something would have broken, probably right there. So I'm going to say they had that taken care of on this toy, and he's not going to be susceptible to it. At least mine isn't. Don't know about yours. So articulation for the day, pretty fine. He's a little bit stiff in some regions, but he does have a good range, and it's all extremely solid thanks to some spring-loaded ratchets in pretty much every one of them. So what else can he do? Well, of course, he can mount his individual weapon. We can put it in his hand, which looks good. Like I said, this was a rare thing back in the day, and I'm really happy that this is the norm again. But it's a simple one piece of plastic, but it did kind of make him a little bit special. But we're going to take that out and get to some real firepower, because we still have these things, which that's a lot of firepower on its own. That's a lot of missiles to be firing on. That's 22 missiles. That's a lot. But we can do more, for we have the power of the Cyber Key, done up in the Cybertron style, with numbers on the back that mean absolutely nothing these days. I'm going to start with, let's start with his right arm. So if I plug this in and all the spring-loaded effects still work, and I'm going to angle this up just to make sure you guys can see everything going on. Whew! Still like that. Didn't quite make it, but hey, we did get this huge thing flipped out. I'm going to go ahead and push it down as well, because it can go down. And when it does go all the way down, you're going to notice this little piece. It falls right on top of his hand. So it looks like he's actually holding it by a handle. That's cool. So yes, he has this gigantic anti-tank weapon that just flings out of his missile battery. If that wasn't enough firepower, now he's packing more. How about some more firepower, he said. Sure, Michael Bay, we can do that. Thanks for watching my videos, by the way. Please make better movies. We can also insert it here, and we get another weapon flipping up from the side. This one also takes a little bit of manual adjustment, for it reveals 2 more missiles. He needed more missiles, didn't he? Alright, so we are now up to 24 missiles on this guy, 2 of which are firing. Though, I would actually recommend leaving these out if you store the toy, because being stored away on mine for so many years has actually bent the missile. It's kind of weird. I've never had that particular thing happen. Like, usually their missile slots are the safest places for them. But yeah, like with the right arm, the left arm also has a little stem that folds right over his hand and does make it look like he is actually holding the weapon. That is extremely cool. This gives him an absolutely insane amount of firepower, and explains why his feet are so large, so he can actually wield it without tipping over. I love this. I absolutely love this. I love the idea of massive weapons hidden inside more massive weapons. And big, heavy armaments was kind of the thing of the Cybertron defense line. Go check my review of the Hotshot from the same subline. You will see what I mean. My one downside is I got nowhere for this to go now. Like, I can put it back on the Minicon peg port here on the side, like I could in the vehicle mode. That's really about it. Yeah, I wish he had, like, boom, like, or like over here, boom. Like, how easy would that have been? It is what it is, though. So yeah, that, my friends, is Cybertron Defense Scattershot. He is exceptionally well armed. What is kind of a downside of a very simplistic transformation and a vehicle mode that really does not hide his robot nature very well. You do have a very solid, very bulky figure with an extremely cool array of weaponry and gimmicks that don't generally interfere with the toy itself, unless you count, the whole simple transformation thing. But I do not, because it still makes an effective vehicle, an extremely effective robot, and again, it's got that many guns, I'm really not going to argue it. Wow.